you guys so much for all the support in the channel recently. But we got to talk about this. So this is from the from CDS Sports Podcast, Chicks Dig Scars. Go this is from their YouTube channel. I'm not sure if they've made a YouTube video about this. I just saw it on Twitter and bookmarked it. I'm not sure, but if they haven't made a video on it, I just saw this in my bookmarks and I want to give my opinion on it. So, if you guys don't remember, we've all said this. So Caitlin Clark.
Video clips have emerged from approximately 4 weeks ago depicting a notable exchange between Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever's coaching personnel during their matchup with the Connecticut Sun. The situation developed after Clark successfully completed a fadeaway three-point shot against J.C. Sheldon, generating considerable enthusiasm from the spectators in attendance.
We've all said this. So Caitlin Clark has been knocked on her ass. She's been knocked on her ass. She's been cheap-shotted. She's been poked in the eye. Everything. They have beat the Connecticut Sun. This is a month ago nearly. The Connecticut Sun beat the crap out of her. Absolutely beat the crap out of each other. But it's now where you've got...
The event transpired during a critical juncture when Indiana maintained a commanding 20-point advantage over their opponents. Clark had just finished an outstanding offensive sequence and was engaging with the home supporters when coaching staff decided to remove her from the game. This substitution proved to be her last participation, as she remained on the bench for the remainder of the contest despite the secure lead. Recorded material demonstrates Clark interacting with supporters and working to sustain the arena's excitement when a coaching staff member physically stepped in by grasping her arm. The video shows the coach directing Clark away from her fan engagement without any visible advance notice or spoken instruction before making physical contact.
It's now where you've got... Caitlin Clark then goes and hits a step-back three on J.C. Sheldon. And she goes, the whole crowd's going nuts. And she comes, and she's getting subbed off, by the way, at this stage. She's getting subbed off for the game. She doesn't go back in the game at this stage. So it's not like it's a close game. They're up 20. She does not see the floor again. Caitlin Clark is there hyping up the crowd. She's there trying to hype up the crowd. Exactly what you want. Exactly what you want. You want to see this version of Caitlin. You want to see this player. And by the way, after this game, we talked about...
This interference holds particular importance considering the wider circumstances surrounding Clark's emotional displays during the season. Commentators have observed a notable reduction in her expressive conduct following several physical altercations that occurred earlier in the campaign. The Connecticut Sun contest itself included numerous hostile plays directed at Clark, incorporating what many viewed as dirty tactics and excessive physical contact. The moment of this coaching interference aligned with worries regarding Clark's decreasing emotional involvement during competitions. After this specific game, analysts observed her progressively reserved attitude, especially noticeable in following games, including the matchup against Golden State, where she seemed remarkably disconnected from the action.
She was emotionless. She was emotionless when they lost to Golden State. She has been emotionless in games. And that's what everyone said, where they were like, Caitlin, they were like, oh, Caitlin, people saying Caitlin's an angel. No one ever said Caitlin's an angel, but she became emotionless. And watch what happens here. So the coach just grabs her. Just grabs her out of nowhere. And I'm like, I don't think there's anything too malicious in that. I don't know if there's anything too malicious. We don't know what's said, but like...
Basketball professionals have challenged whether the organization's philosophy clashes with Clark's inherent competitive nature. Her university career at Iowa demonstrated an intensely passionate playing approach that energized both personal achievement and collective accomplishment. This methodology included supporter interaction, expressive celebrations, and visible enthusiasm that became signature elements of her basketball persona. Present organizational methods appear concentrated on controlling these displays, possibly emphasizing a more regulated public presence over genuine competitive spirit. The physical interference during celebration signifies a troubling illustration of this philosophical disagreement between natural competitive expression and institutional demands.
You can't just grab a player. Like, I'm sorry, you can't just, the player's walking back, you can't just grab a player. Like, and by the way, from this moment on, we hardly saw anything. From this moment on, the emotion was gone from Caitlin. Let's be real. That was right before the Valkyries game. The Valkyries game that realistically that realistically just kind of broke her. And like,
Clark has personally recognized this conflict in multiple interviews, showing understanding that coaching staff choices sometimes clash with her best performance techniques. She has mentioned that supporter interaction and emotional investment create optimal performance circumstances for her playing approach. The occurrence prompts inquiries about coaching techniques and player growth strategies within professional basketball. Numerous accomplished players throughout basketball history have depended heavily on emotional involvement and expressive conduct as fundamental aspects of their competitive method.
And like, I mean this when I say this, like, the referees are threatening a tech for hyping up the crowd. Go take your tech. This is sports. This is sports. You take a tech. I don't care. We treat this sport like it's men's sport. And I mean this. We talk about basketball like it's basketball. You don't have to like Caitlin Clark. You don't even have to like Caitlin Clark did this. But this is Caitlin Clark. This is Caitlin at her best when she is relentless. When she is relentless.
Previous university coach Lisa Bluter effectively guided Clark's competitive drive into constructive team leadership during her Iowa period. That framework emphasized utilizing her passionate character while steering it toward beneficial team results rather than trying to completely eliminate emotional expression. Present organizational framework seems to emphasize different principles potentially arising from executive directives rather than solely coaching choices. This hierarchical method may reflect worries about maintaining particular public relations standards or conforming to assumed league requirements.
She is relentless. When she is relentless, when she's getting the crowd involved. And it's literally like Caitlin. She said it against like the Liberty. She said after the game, she's like, oh, I want to get the crowd involved. I want to do this, want to do that. Like, that's kind of what her goal is. She's like, that's when I'm at my best. And she keeps getting asked interview questions about it. It's like, oh, they're trying to get you to do this. They're trying to get you to do this. But at the end of the day, it is, Caitlin literally goes, well, it's like,
the wider consequences reach beyond individual player management to inquiries about genuine competitive expression in professional sports. Clark's natural playing approach includes substantial emotional elements that historically supported her.
It is, Caitlin literally goes, well, it's like, well, they're trying to my team are trying to stop me from doing this, but that's when I'm at my best. She's essentially said her coach doesn't want her to play her game. And it's very clear that the Indiana Fever don't want Caitlin to be Caitlin. They want to see the perfect. And by the way, I don't know if this is just from the coaching staff. I think this might be from the front office. Maybe they want to keep this squeaky clean image of Caitlin Clark, not realizing that Caitlin Clark didn't have this squeaky clean image. Caitlin Clark, let's be real. There's a video.
The circumstances continue evolving as observers track Clark's emotional involvement levels and overall performance direction. The difference between her current restrained method and previous energetic presence indicates continuing internal disputes between personal competitive instincts and organizational requirements. The Indiana Fever exhibited two completely different basketball personalities during their encounter against the Atlanta Dream, with both methods producing satisfactory outcomes. Nevertheless, the difference between their first and second half displays revealed important strategic understanding about the team's ideal playing approach.
Possession and double off Jordan Canada, allowing Jordan Canada to score 26 points in the first half. They're up big at halftime. Or the game's over at halftime if Kelsey Mitchell doesn't cook. And the first half was the Kelsey Mitchell show. It was the Kelsey Mitchell show. Like, Aaliyah Boston goes into halftime with 5 points. And her only basket being a 3-point shot. A 3-pointer was Aaliyah Boston's only basket in the first half. She did not touch the ball in the post.
The initial half featured Kelsey Mitchell's superiority as she handled the offensive responsibility while other primary players battled to find their tempo. Aaliyah Boston managed just 5 points by intermission, with her only successful field goal originating from outside the 3-point arc, an uncommon situation given her typical interior presence. Clark added 4 points and 5 assists, showing controlled scoring while creating opportunities for teammates. Jordan Canada took advantage of defensive vulnerabilities throughout the opening half, gathering 26 points as the Fever repeatedly deployed double coverage to the interior while leaving Canada in beneficial situations. This defensive approach proved expensive, enabling Canada to direct Atlanta's offensive execution successfully.
Caitlin Clark goes into halftime with, sorry, that's the second quarter. Did Aaliyah score in the first quarter? Sorry, she goes into halftime with 9 points. In the second quarter, her only shot was a three-pointer. Caitlin Clark goes into halftime with 4 points, 5 assists. And Jordan Canada's obviously cooking them. But it was the Kelsey Mitchell show. It was. This team goes where Kelsey Mitchell goes. And the Indiana Fever, in my opinion,
Mitchell's first half display represented isolation-focused basketball, where personal scoring took priority over team rhythm. While this method kept Indiana competitive, it signified a laborious, systematic approach that differed dramatically from their natural advantages. The squad succeeded in staying within competitive range, despite executing what many would describe as visually unappealing basketball.
And the Indiana Fever, in my opinion, the Indiana Fever can win games playing like that. But it can't be while Caitlin Clark is on the floor, because if Caitlin Clark is on the floor, it needs to be your secondary. It needs to be your secondary, and I think the fact that Kelsey Mitchell can still go and do that is important. But at the same time, I think it's even more important to realize who your options are and who your best player is.
This laborious method revealed basic problems with roster assembly and strategic philosophy. Clark finds difficulty maximizing her influence within such limited offensive frameworks, as does Lexi Hull. Sophie Cunningham adjusts effectively to different playing approaches, while Boston showed her adaptability by adding 10 second-half points. With 8 arriving in the vital fourth quarter, the second half disclosed Indiana's genuine capability as they outscored Atlanta convincingly. Clark recorded 14 fourth-quarter points, while Dantas and others added 13 points respectively. Boston included 8 points before fouling out, displaying the explosive offensive potential that surfaces when the team accepts their preferred rhythm.
And that is good old Caitlin Clark. But yeah, the first half was a grind down, gritty game. And the Indiana Fever, I thought, did a really good job of that. And that's one thing. The Fever, they didn't out-grit. They did out-grit. I'm sorry, Jordan Canada. It was a Jordan Canada masterclass, and it worked, but it was ugly basketball. Early on,
these contrasting halves emphasize 2 separate organizational personalities. Indiana can compete using physical, grind-focused strategies, demonstrated by previous wins against Las Vegas and other teams when games became rough and defensive. However, this method represents their maximum rather than their ideal playing approach. Coach Stephanie White's inclination to mirror opponents' physical aggression rather than establishing Indiana's preferred pace creates strategic concerns. The team's long-term growth and entertainment worth gain more from fast-paced play that maximizes their athletic benefits and produces exciting viewing experiences for their considerable fan following.
Early on in the game, it was really, really ugly basketball. And they managed to stay in it playing ugly basketball. The problem is that there is one player on your team that just does not play well playing ugly basketball. There's multiple. Caitlin Clark does not play well in ugly basketball, and Lexi Hull does not play well in ugly basketball. I think Sophie...
The 18,000 supporters in attendance react equally enthusiastically to Clark's remarkable assists and her distance shooting. Her full-court plays and transition coordination create similar excitement to her perimeter scoring, indicating that fast-paced basketball serves both competitive and entertainment functions.
Ugly basketball. I think Sophie can kind of fit into any style of basketball. I think Aaliyah, as much as Aaliyah's first half points, she had 9. What did she have in the second half? Her fourth quarter, she had 10 in the second half. And were all that in the fourth? 8 of them were in the fourth quarter. And, that was the big thing. And, if you look at the second half again, fourth quarter, plus 14 for Caitlin, plus 13 for Dantas, plus 13, plus 13, plus 8 for Aaliyah before she fouls out.
Mitchell's reluctance to modify her position within Clark's framework creates inefficiencies that become obvious in advanced statistics. Despite scoring 25 effective points, her -3 rating and a 17-point win shows how individual achievement can happen alongside team-level difficulties when playing approaches conflict. The basic problem focuses on ball movement and offensive philosophy. Clark shows genuine intention to include teammates in scoring chances, regularly attempting to generate assists rather than personal scoring. When Mitchell accepts this cooperative method, selecting only premium shots and returning possession quickly when ideal opportunities aren't present, team execution improves significantly.
Before she fouls out. Like, it really was a case where the Indiana Fever looked like two separate teams. And I think they are two separate teams. Like, they're not the Indiana Fever are not a terrible grinded out team. They're not a team that's going to compete for anything grinding it out. But like, they can win a game. We saw it against the Lynx. We saw it against the Aces when they just made it gritty.
Post-Olympic pause patterns from the earlier season showed this dynamic clearly. Mitchell occasionally functioned with outstanding effectiveness, selecting only uncontested three-pointers or layups while quickly returning the ball to Clark for continued playmaking. This method maximized both players' abilities while preserving offensive rhythm. The contradiction of Clark's playing approach shows itself in these circumstances. When used off-ball, she can seem selfish as she pursues scoring chances. However, when managing primary ball handling duties, she regularly emphasizes team achievement over individual numbers. This indicates that offensive frameworks should focus around her playmaking capability.
We saw it against the Lynx. We saw it against the Aces when they just made it gritty. We saw it at the start of the year against the Atlanta Dream. And the Indiana Fever, when a team tries to make it gritty and physical with them, the Indiana Fever, Stephanie White's tactic is to make it gritty and physical back, which, in my opinion, is the wrong way to go about it. I think Stephanie White's job should always be to impose their play style on other teams and to try running, because that is how, one, the team is going to be better long-term doing that, and two, you know, the way there's like 18,000.
The second half change happened specifically because of Clark's increased assertiveness. Her readiness to attack defensively generated chain reactions that helped every teammate. Wing players discovered better positioning, shooters obtained cleaner opportunities, and Boston gained beneficial interior positions through enhanced spacing. Atlanta's fatigue became obvious as they struggled to equal Indiana's pace and energy. The Dream's physical first-half strategy failed when the Fever increased tempo, requiring Atlanta to spend excessive energy just maintaining competitive positioning. This tactical change eliminated Atlanta's capacity to control physical conditions while generating multiple transition chances. Indiana produced fewer isolation possessions but created superior opportunities through enhanced ball movement and spacing. Mitchell's development presents both possibilities and worries for organizational planning. Her individual scoring capability remains important, but her growth toward isolation-heavy play resembles trends that have proven harmful to team achievement in other situations. Discovering the equilibrium between using her scoring talent and maintaining team offensive principles represents a vital challenge. The difference between these playing approaches demonstrates wider philosophical inquiries about Indiana's identity. While they have the ability to win games through grinding, physical basketball, this method restricts their maximum and fails to optimize their most dynamic personnel. The entertainment worth and long-term development advantages clearly support the fast-paced method that characterized their second-half superiority.